Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, continuing my take on Gundam Build Fighters, the newest anime. The first episode is on the air tonight, so here's some thoughts as I walk through the good and the bad before you get to hear the MS, the scene, and the character of the week. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that with a comment down below. And then it's one of the most important scenes for me, the real launch. We've already seen the Wing get defeated before, but what do we get for his roll call, or for the name call as he gets ready to go? Iori-se, build strike, ikimasu. And it's always sort of cool to see the character of the pilot, as it can be revealed whether they're going to be using the honorifics, whether they're going to use mas or des or anything like that. And we get to see, of course, Sasaki Susumu head on in the GAN with a proper villainous deru. But the fact that Sei used ikimasu, anyway, I'm looking forward to see what Rage uses, and whether they're going to do sort of a mix. We've seen it change between the Asunos and Setsuna and going all the way back to Amuro. It's always just a neat touch to see what kind of characterization they're trying to use, and show whether it's Ore, Boku, or in the case of 00's Tierra, all three, Watashi, Boku, and Ore in one sentence. And with Sasaki's GAN looking like a superstar, even with only the massive sword in hand, it's finally time for Rage to show up, seize the controls, hand on hand, and just blast forward, and we finally get to see the lead actually looking like a lead so far, with one of the cheesiest / nicest lines, "Because you prayed for me, yes, I'm here." And if there's one scene that just needs to be cut up and put in the comments section anytime a UC purist or an old school fan or a hardcore fan of Gundam wants to say Build Fighters is ridiculous, the Build Strike just looked good blasting back the GAN. And then what do we get with it? Well, if you go back to G Gundam, we got to see some pretty silly things, but that makes sense as martial artists inside warming themselves up and the Gundams, as the Build Strike does a very, very silly dance. That right there, I think, if that's floating around the web, people are going to say, this show is not for me. And then they follow it up with a silly look at Sei's face, definitely setting the tone for a younger, sillier, much more lighthearted show. But you've already figured that out by now, but I can't help but think back to Kira's first turn out in the strike, looking very impressive with the armored Schneiders. Rage does a very good job here as well, but then another line that had me just laughing in ridiculousness / yeah, okay, well, let's find out where it's going with this. Rambaral has to say, maybe this kid, this is his first time in a Gundam battle, maybe he's a new type, tying the universes to UC a little bit, and then again just going really meta, and at the same time, that is really going to annoy a lot of people, I'm sure, to have this kid compared to the famous new types of the past. And as Sei is impressed and Rage rages with more rage than anybody since the 1990s Avenger, we get a scene as the Build Strike with his beam saber cuts through the GAN in true Gunpla style, and we get him left with a very nice and semi-iconic pose and a great take on the original Gundam, slicing through his first Zaku at the end of Episode 1, well over 30 years ago. And in the climatic scene, we've got Sasaki Susumu down on his knees, Rambaral still talking. The mother and Rambaral saw Rage as he disappears, and Iori-se realizes that it was Rage that let his Gunpla be victorious. He grabs the tool that you know they're going to go sell, and it was really cool to see the outside, the exterior of the Iori Moke hobby shop, and you get to see the gachapon and everything else, and as the Seiyu credits roll, and we get to see, yes, Rambaral is voiced by the original. That, for me, is enough reason to come back to week 2, even if I didn't want to come back because of the whole 12-year-old aim of the show. But as Iori runs into the streets looking for his newfound friend / alien / new type / something that came from an onion or an apple at the end of the Gundam 00 movie, you gotta wonder, what is the relationship with the father? And Iori's got a big smile on his face, and so it's a nice sort of touch. I thought they were going to leave us on a cliffhanger. What is Rage's relationship? Is he even a human? Whatever. And it's still nice to see also they're making the character of the town a bit of a character. That's something that JoJo does very well, especially in Part 4. And I think they're going to do a good job of bringing the community in, even when Rage was being gawked at by the other Japanese when he was stealing his bread. So I think they did a good job of showing off the town, but I still can't help think, when we get this big victory scene at the end, it's the kind of thing where you're going to want to be pausing the show, because as Rambaral and the mother look on, you can see a high-grade 1/100, the Gundam X back there, a non-grade Providence. They just went to a lot of trouble to accurately draw the boxes, and it's going to keep us watching this show all the time, and it's just going to be filled with Easter eggs, if you even want to call them that, as they're not hidden. And then the mystery of Rage is going to be solved. They're not going to make us wait till next week. He's sitting at the table eating the rice. You wonder about the relationship with the mother. And then I did watch the previews. For Gundam Age I wasn't, but for this one it's awfully short. And yes, they bring back to the crystal or the jewel, and we get to see the build booster over there, a whole bunch of gunpla next week, and that's going to make you want to come back to it. And then, my MS of the week perhaps, the Zaku Amazing is going to be making its debut, but I think even more important for me, Gold Sumo. Yeah, anytime you bring in more Harry Ord, or even just remind us of Harry Ord's existence, well, you're doing a good job of really bringing the best of the last 30 plus years into today, and hopefully some of the kids out there watching it are going to be picking up on it. For those of you who saw my Gundam Age reviews, well, I like to answer the questions. Who was the character, mobile suit, and what was the scene of the week? So that's something I wanted to try again with this first episode, but this time a little bit of a round table. MJ, thanks a lot for being here.
Hello.
All right, so let's start with you, M. Who was your character of the week for episode 1?
Okay, Rage definitely.
How about you, Jay?
Me too, the Rage.
Well, for me, this is really, really easy. Iori say Rage? No. Ramba Rel showing up, wearing blue and pink, holding an MG goof. That, for me, just made this episode right there. Yeah. So how about mobile suits? M, who's your pick?
Okay, so for me, Ragazine in the dark color.
Yeah, that was a cool recolor.
And I like the gun.
Ooh, and anything you're excited about coming up?
Yeah, I saw at the end there have the glowed sumo. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
And for me, well, I've got to say, I'm a sucker for leads. The build strike looked fantastic once Rage took over as the pilot, but I love to see Amuro's Gundam referenced so well, flying through the air. It was just fantastic as we got to see it. 2 shots, but actually, my MS, how could I skip past this? The DJ in white. I don't care about the color, but the DJ has never been used so well. What did we see? Amuro got in it and it flew off screen. Instead, Kira, Jesus Yamato, is getting chopped open by a DJ. So for me, MS, that was right up there. All right, for scene of the week, M, what do you think?
So for me, the scene of the week is definitely going to be the flashback battle when the father of the main character wins the Gundam battle. With one shot, just kills 2 mobile suits, and before that, a lot of dodging and shooting.
That was a good scene. Yeah. How about you, Jay?
I like the strike. He lost his arm. It's really look like a mobile. It's like a model, so it sort of surprised me.
At the beginning of the episode, and it turned it from serious to funny too. For me, scene of the week, just again when Ramba Rel was in the shop. That really you can tell that I'm impressed with episode 1 just because of that one simple reason. But I agree, the RX-78-2 1 shot 2 kills. That is very Amuro-esque. So something else, let's just throw this in here. What about model of the week? I mean, this whole show, they've got a Gunpla store, Moke. M, how about for you? What did you see on the shelves? What did you see? What had you excited?
Okay, so, well, actually I've been waiting for the MG Turn X for a long, long time, but by now there's no news. So for me, whatever HG, MG, just come on.
Yeah. That would be great. That was exciting to see on the shelf. Jay, how about you?
I like the JPO2 in the shelf. It's really capture our eyes, the big shell. So I think if one day can do the cosplay, it's really awesome.
Somebody wearing a GPO2A cosplay would be awesome. And for me, well, I got a Turn X, of course. But Turn A coming out next year, hopefully. But also the Crossbone X1, if that's an HG. Anyway, my eyes are going to be peeled, as I'm sure all of ours are, to see what's on the shelves there and whether that'll be on the real shelves in the near future. So for some final thoughts, I've got to say that I enjoyed the episode for what it was. Basically, we've got Gundam Unicorn, we've got the Origin coming, we've got some good manga side stories and things like that, keeping Gundam big and adult and interesting with complex stories of war, good characterization, etc. And now on the other hand, we have Build Fighters clearly aimed for a different demographic than probably you, the average viewer out there. At the same time, I've got to say, it's the kind of thing I'm going to want to keep coming back. They put in enough big stuff to link to the past, and they still did, again, Ramba Rel. I just cannot get over that. And these are the kinds of things that are going to go right over the head of most of the kids watching. But if they have a good time, and enough of us have a good time, then it could be a pretty positive ride going forward. But you just sort of have to treat it as what it is. This is not a proper war story with high stakes, saving the world, saving the universe, saving the colonies. All it is a kid saving his little business and maybe making some friends and learning some lessons along the way. What's going to happen with the father? What's going to happen with Rage? We will find out. I'm actually sort of excited to see. It's a very different format from what we've ever seen before, but at the same time, we've seen things like this, so I'm inclined to continue giving it a shot. Anyway, everybody, I'd love to hear your thoughts, both on the review, the format. What did you think of the actual episode itself? That's the most important thing. Will you be back for episode 2, or does it just make you crazy having to wait for proper UC action with Gundam Unicorn episode 7 extra long coming in the not-too-distant future? Anyway, please let me know what you think with a comment down below, and stick around for lots more news, reviews, and everything else you can use. See you next week, everybody. Bye. You caught me in a state of modification. Hold on, then I'm gonna go get shown to a mom.